Guys, today you're going to get a special treat because I'm going to introduce somebody that many of you know, one of the best offensive line coaches in all of America, whether it's high school, college, or the NFL. And that's our offensive line specialist here for CoachTF 365, and that's Brian Hamilton. Brian was a client of mine for over 11 years, and at one time, he led the state of California, his team did, in passing. The very next year, they led the state of California in rushing. That shows somebody that understands not only how to coach, but especially how to coach offensive linemen. And today, now he's been in college football for several years, and Brian is going to be the one person that's going to teach you how to make your offensive line a plug-and-play offensive line. He will give you the best details that there is, both in scheme and fundamentals. So if you want to have the best season ever, make sure that you get to CoachTF.com and become one of the top 5% of all the coaches in your profession. Now on to today's offensive line training with Coach Brian Hamilton for CoachTF 365.
Hi, coaches. Welcome to another CoachTF 365 training. I'm Brian Hamilton, offensive line specialist for CoachTF 365, and currently serving as the tight ends coach at Texas State University. Previous to that, I was the offensive line coach, run game coordinator at Murray State, Murray, Kentucky. Before that, I worked with Coach Franklin at the University of California, Berkeley, as an offensive line assistant coach. Spent the majority of my coaching career as a high school coach in Northern California at Concord High School, where we competed for numerous state titles, won one in 2010. I am a 15-year client of Coach Franklin and his offensive system. Changed everything that I knew about football and changed my fortune as a coach and changed my fortunes as a professional coach. And where I'm at professionally now is due to him. So today what we're going to be covering are the three key components to a successful screen game. And for me, this was one of the biggest aha moments of being a member of the Tony Franklin system, was the advent and emphasis on the screen game. Coach Franklin very early on said, you've got to have a dynamic screen game and you've got to call it because it forces defenders to run. It tires them out. And that way, if you're not a team that can run the ball very effectively, you've got a better chance if the defensive line and linebackers are tired than if they're fresh and only moving 3 to 4 steps. But by being able to throw screens and forcing teams to run sideline to sideline, your entire offense is going to be more successful. And we certainly practiced that at Concord High School. We had a very effective screen game at Concord High School. Since then, worked really hard on the screen game when I was at Cal Berkeley with Coach, and saw tremendous results there. Was a really good screen team in Murray, and still continuing to be a really good screen team here at Texas State as we continue to work it. But like I said, there are three components to an effective screen game, and I want to share them with you today. So let's talk about those three keys to an effective screen game. The first one is this, and it's the main one. Offensive linemen releasing flat for 5. Okay, that means that no matter what screen you're running, if you're out on a screen, once you release, you're at the line of scrimmage and you're releasing flat for 5 yards. We're going to talk about more in depth later on about how you target your screens, how you assign your screens, but no matter what you're doing, if you're an offensive lineman releasing, you're going to be releasing flat for at least 5 yards. Let's take a look at a piece of tape here. All right, this is a drop 8 scenario. This is where they tell you you should not really be running screens, but I want you to keep your eyes right here. This will be the center and left guard, and watch how flat down the line they are for 5 yards, completely flat. Because we are so flat, the defense is running to us. They can see the ball carrier. We can't. This first block happens, without the center doing a whole lot of work because the linebacker runs into him. Next, you see the guard release completely flat for 5 yards and work upfield with a wide base and fast feet. And we get into a really, really, really good play there. Now, again, I'll run this back. There is no man assignment on this screen. We are releasing flat for 5 yards, and then we have eye prioritizations. And we take care of those eye prioritizations. We have a wide base and fast feet, and we put ourselves into a really good play. So the number one key to a successful screen game is your offensive lineman being disciplined in running flat for 5 yards. The second key to a successful screen game are the wide receivers using adjusted splits for timing and success of the screens. If your wide receivers are so far away, the offensive line is never going to be able to get there to help. You've got to use the field and you've got to use the wide receivers' adjusted splits to help the timing and the success of your screenplays. We've got 2 examples here. So right here, we're on the right hash. We're throwing the screen here to our Z receiver. And you can see that he's almost on the top of the numbers, right? This is a really tight split here, but what's going to allow the tackle to do is get there and be effective in the screen game. Watching that right tackle right there. First thing you see, he's going to be completely flat for 5 yards. But because we've brought the defense to us, we're able to acquire our target, and we're in a touchdown play. Now that looked really simple, but it looked simple because the tackle could get there. I want you to imagine us running the same screen the other way. It would be nearly impossible for the tackle to affect the play. So by using steps 1 and 2, a flat for 5 release and an adjusted wide receiver split, we see a huge payoff here in the screenplay. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're flat, prioritize our eyes, wide base, fast feet, we're in a great play. One more clip of this. Again, same screen. Now we've cut the split even more. Now the Z is off the top of the numbers. Now we're in a super tight split here. A little bit of eye candy with some motion. Flat for 5 release. Brought the target to us. Splatter it. And again, because we can get there, because we've timed this out, because the throw and the catch and the blocks are all going to hit bang, bang, bang using flat for 5 as well as adjusted wide receiver splits. Doesn't even take much work there. The third key to our screen rules is the offensive line's ability to reprioritize threats based on looks and mixed releases. We've got rules and we know when we want to get out in a screen, but you'll get held up. A defensive lineman will lock onto an offensive lineman. An offensive lineman will get picked off by a blitz. And if you don't have the ability to reprioritize their eyes, you're going to be in a bad screenplay, regardless of what the defense is doing. So here we're going to look at the left side of the offensive line releasing in this screen. And by rule, the tackle is supposed to be the first one out and have the first threat. But watch what happens. That tackle gets picked off by a defensive lineman. He's now not going to be first to the screen. The left guard realizes that he is now first to the screen, so he takes over the left tackle's job. We get a great block in space. And again, we're in a really successful play here because we were able to reprioritize the threats as the play is unfolding. Had the left guard played his rule, he might have ended up here, and this play is now for a negative hit there. But because the offensive line was able to reprioritize threats mid-play, we end up in a super successful screenplay in an important game. So those are the 3 critical factors in a successful screen game. They don't sound like much, But when you add them up all together, you get a lot of really explosive plays out of a very important part of the game. Lots of coaches I talk to, I want to run more screens. I want to run more screens. And the problem isn't the screens that they're drawing up. It's the release of the offensive lineman. It's the split of the wide receivers. And it's the inability for the play and release to change as the play unfolds, because it's a play in space. You run zone, people are going to move 6 to 8 inches, not a ton of movement. You start moving into space, now you got guys moving 10, 15, 20 yards, and you better be ready to account for them. There's much more where that came from. Keep watching, because we'll be continuing this series every week. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Again, it's Brian Hamilton, offensive line specialist for Coach TF 365. Look forward to talking to you guys again soon.
That's it, everybody. Those are the life-changing, career-changing, career improvement points that we have for today. If you enjoyed this, please go visit CoachTF.com. Better than that, book a call with me today. Get on the phone and give me a call. Improve your life. And then the most important thing, never forget, do something good today for somebody who could never repay you as long as you live. If you do that, you'll have lived a great life.